Good morning, everyone. So now we will talk about one specific topic that is close to my heart, which is about Europe, right? And we'll talk about competitive Europe. Do we believe in Europe? How competitive it is, given all what's happening? How to leverage our industrial leadership and our leadership also in terms of technology to strengthen Europe in this global environment. And for that, I have two guest speakers, and I will go more in detail. Just to begin with, I want to give a clear and confident message about Europe. This is really important because we are the industry footprint of Europe. So this is really important that all together we believe and we shape the future of industry in Europe. Many players are saying there is a decline in Europe, the GDP is not as fast as in North America or in China. Let's stop comparison. How can we really differentiate, have something that is singular in Europe that we can export in the rest of the world, that is making us unique? So that's really something that I really want to address, to have more speed, to have more scale, to have more ambition in Europe, and then we will build all together a lasting, sustainable growth and resilience across Europe. So this is all about this session. This is what we will explore today in the session on how we can strengthen, how we can rebuild Europe based on innovation, based also on collaboration. We need all together build ecosystem. And Denmark is a good example of what's possible. So that's why we are here to talk about that in this particular country, because this is a good example of what's happening in low-carbon innovation, cross-sector collaboration, etc. So now let me introduce the two panelists. So Paul George Moses, who is the CTO of Power-to-X for Topsoe.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
And then we have Lars Sandal Sorensen, who is the CEO and Director General for Dansk Industry. And together, we will share all the insights on how we can lead Europe with purpose and technology. I think that I covered it rapidly around the trends. This is what you can see it here. The trends between Europe, US, and China. My conviction is that we have lost one battle. We have not lost a war. We have to accelerate. We have to be even more powerful. And to do that, we need to unlock the potential that we have in Europe. Okay, we have a complex environment, many things happening, among which geopolitical, we talked about it, but also the global competition that is happening and energy costs that I think we just tackled before. All those challenges, they should be seen as catalyst for a reinvention of Europe. This is where we need you also, a reinvention of Europe, to better position Europe to respond to these challenges. And that's why we need the feedback and the opinions of our two guest speakers about what can be done. What would you expect, in particular, from the policymakers in order to accelerate and drive the momentum for a better industrial footprint in Europe? Maybe you want to start, Paul.
So the important part we see is that there needs to be clear where do we want to go. We do see a lot in Europe that we define where we don't want to go. But having a clear vision of where we want to go with the transition and how we drive productivity in Europe and how that is linked to welfare across Europe is really critical, and that we so that we can act instead of not just defining what we don't want to do.
Lars, what do you think?
I think we are realizing right now that we have a challenge in Europe. And in order to become better and fix a problem, you have to realize that you have a problem. And I think we are realizing that we are, in some areas, coming behind. And the policymakers and the industrial leaders and the largest companies are realizing that we are not seeing the speed of innovation, the application of new innovation at a high enough speed in Europe. The good news is that we have a lot of the innovation, we have a lot of the capital, we have a lot of the will, but it's not happening fast enough. And what we realized, we hosted von der Leyen, President Macron, Prime Minister Tusk, Prime Minister Frederiksen from Denmark, just a few weeks ago here. And we handed over 28 of the largest companies in Europe a declaration, the Copenhagen Declaration, saying, if you fix pretty much what's in the Draghi and letter reports, if you fix that, then we are willing to invest as companies 50% more than we're doing today. And note, that is 800 billion euros per year for the next 5 years. So there is a lot of willingness, but we need to get the frameworks in place so we can actually utilize the innovation capacities and the technologies that we have available in Europe, and are not using to the full extent.
If I may, Lars, you're saying something extremely important about Draghi's report. Draghi's report, it reinforces that climate action and economic growth go hand in hand, right? It's not one against each other again, it goes hand in hand. And this is the path for Europe. This is how we can unlock what's behind the Net Zero Industrial Act that's really ongoing, but we need to have a step further and to have it strong in the legislation. So that's really something that I think is super valuable. But if we go a bit more in details, let me give you another example of the regulation and to hear your thought about it. There were 3 major regulations ongoing: the Data Act, the AI Act, the Cyber Resiliency Act, all trying to reshape the industrial landscape. How do you see that? How your companies are being prepared for that? Is it an opportunity or is it a risk?
Well, regulation and common frameworks are good. We are not against that. That's positive and it's necessary. And in some areas, we can probably set the standards for other parts of the world in terms of regulation. We just need to make it less complicated. It has become extremely complicated, so we need to undo some of all this complication and simplify it. And that's why all these omnibuses that we now have going in the EU systems are extremely important. But let me just maybe come with, based on what you said before, the waste of resource that we have in Europe, well, globally at the moment, is enormous. So a better, smarter way of energy efficiency and a smarter way to utilize and more intelligent ways to utilize our resources, our energy, is extremely important. And therefore, also because of security reasons, energy has become very, very, very high on the European list. And we believe that electrification of Europe and a more sustainable green transition in Europe in terms of energy is absolutely necessary.
Maybe you want to rebound on that, Paul. What are you doing in your specific company, right?
So on the specific companies for when it comes to the EU Data Act and Cyber Resilience Act and the AI Act, on one side, these are of course regulations that we have to fulfill. So it's about doing this with operational excellence, that you comply, but also that you bring it into how we develop products. And a lot of it is just common sense, something you already do because that's actually what our customers want. But then I would say there's also part of it that is extremely risk adverse. So it really stifles innovation. It sets so strict guardrails that you cannot. It becomes very difficult to do innovation and cumbersome, and that slows down speed. So even though you can sort of mitigate some of that by operational excellence, it's not helping innovation. But of course, the standardization does. So the standardization part is needed, but maybe not as risk adverse as the standardization is today.
Well, very good. So if I retain, yes, for regulation, not too strong, simplify, but make it happen, because this is the corpus of our difference across the world, right? Another thing that Mr. Draghi said, he was saying that we are having another revolution, which is the digital revolution. So if you allow me, I would like to talk about technology. And especially because when it comes to Europe, you were talking about electrification, now it's digitalization, and it's sustainability with automation at the end. So what is it the best triangular to make it happen? And I think this is coming to a certain extent to how to redefine the technology setup for Europe, how we can differentiate with strong technology background across Europe. And I think we need a combination there, right? We need to defend the right setup for electrification, and here we have not yet finalized our play on that front. Again, I discussed earlier with CNBC, we are stagnant in the level of electrification in Europe, 22% across Europe. We need to accelerate on that front. But digitalization, it's an enormous element that is coming, bringing performance, bringing efficiency, bringing a lot of innovation and intelligence within the devices. So in your respective domain, how you tackle the technology element and how you make sure that this technology is a strong asset for Europe that you can export in the rest of the world.
Yeah, so specifically for our company, but before I say that, I would say in Europe, we do have a very strong manufacturing base, which we need to build from that and now to what we do. We want to make an impact that is real for the energy transition, and that is about delivering solutions that ends up with our customers. And because in Power to X, these are new solutions. So you need to couple the data from these operations and bring it into how you design and develop and deliver. And automation plays a very large role in that. And ultimately, you need to have your people on the shop floor being part of that development path all the way and having automation and the people from the start. So it's not just an add-on, it is what you do all the way.
You know, I think when we talk about all these things that we sit here and discuss, it seems quite theoretical. It seems like kind of far away. You know, it's not very close to us individuals. But what we are really talking about here is the future of the way we live in Europe. This is at what's stake. You know, this is our wealth, our welfare, our security in Europe going forward. Yeah. We in this room have been used to a very high standard of living in Europe. We cannot expect this if we are not able to move and implement faster. That goes also in the integration and implementation of new technology. And you know, new technology is not something just a big black box. It's people. It's people learning to utilize new technologies, to change behaviors, to do things differently, to adapt new ways of working. That takes leadership. You need to motivate people, educate people to utilize these new ways of working. And I think we as industry leaders or political leaders, we need to focus on people utilizing these new tools in a positive way that can make an impact and a positive impact on our quality of life. But it has also become a competitive parameter as to how do we stand in the global sense in Europe going forward. We have all the tools there, but we need to invest and we need to implementation of all the stuff we are talking about, and for that matter also all the ideas and concepts from EU is tremendously important.
So if I rephrase, the main topic is that technology already exists. It's a matter of adoption, right? It's a matter of adoption just to make sure that we together realize the potential of the technology that we have already developed. It's not only futuristic, something that will happen.
No, it's right now.
It's right now. I think this is the main topic that we just discussed. And if we put the segue here about how to embark more people in this journey. And I think this would be very interesting to hear both of you, because I truly believe to deliver all the targets that we are discussing about the energy transition with all the paths forward, we need to build together. We need to have an ecosystem. It's not one company that can make this change, it's collaboration, right? So I would like to hear both of you on that topic. Is it an accelerator of your own journey, and how you make that happen?
So sure, I will start. So it is surely an accelerator. I would say that there's been the new development is the large language models, and what they do is that they democratize the ability for people with very low skill to actually interact with digital solutions. The underlying sort of data mining and machine learning that we used in engineering, that has evolved over many years, and but what can happen now is that you can use the large language models to enable that you can access this and use this even if you're not a trained data scientist. And we use that to empower our employees, and it also means that and then we just do something that is very basic that probably most in this room do. It is about using good lean principles, which is about involving the people on the shop floor in your development. And because the shop floor is automated, they have to be involved directly with how you automate. And you get this helping hand by the fact that you don't need to translate it anymore. You can have a large language model that can translate it. So I think there's immense opportunities to use that as a catalyst.
But I think your point is really good, because what we're talking about here, solving these, taking advantage of these great opportunities that we really have, but also things we need to do in order to stay safe and secure and have wealth and growth. You need to work in partnerships. Partnerships is key. You need to, as a company, as an individual, as a state, as a government, you need to work in partnerships. Nobody can do this alone. And I guess that's why Schneider Electric is hosting such an enormous and fabulous event. That's partnerships, I guess. Because no state can solve these things alone. No private industry can solve this alone. No single company can do this alone. So your ability to work together with the right smart partners, people and companies, our ability also in Europe to work closely public-privately together and getting the benefits of the public and private institutions. And for that matter, also the capital markets, the pension funds, the investment funds, which are out there and not being utilized. So our ability also as companies to work in smart partnerships all the time has become even more important, because no company can have all the technologies by themselves and ensure the development and the implementation. You need all the other factors. So your success as a company, but also as a region, as Europe, depends on our ability to work smartly with each other.
Yeah, and I think it makes a good segue on the fact that we are entering a really pivotal moment for the industry. Across the world, but especially in Europe, we have to tackle it, to proactively tackle it. We see a lot of potential on available technologies that exist, the current deployment that we are seeing today, especially on advanced manufacturing technologies. This is where we can make a huge difference, and we have to embrace these new technologies. It's a tremendous opportunity not only for big companies, but also for SMEs, for small, medium-sized companies. And so I think that we need to catch up. We need to unlock those new levels of productivity, of competitiveness, and sustainability all together. This is really something that we should tackle. And that's why we were quoting here some of those kind of new technologies that we have to embrace in order to bridge the gap, to make sure that it's a call in that direction, to make sure that we accelerate all this transformation across organization. And again, the key word is adoption. Adoption of all those new technologies. It sounds scary at first sight, but it's not. It's really building something that is secure, that is really ahead of the curve. One example is convergence of IT and OT. All those architectures will be a strong supporter of digitalization and intelligence within the system. So that's what we really need to embrace. Digital tools, contextualized data for smarter decision in terms of process, in terms of supply chain, in terms of energy efficiency. All that is something that is already happening. I just wanted to share a little bit of that because at the end of the day, it's outcomes for us. It's outcome for our own industry to become more competitive in a very competitive landscape globally. So I just wanted to reiterate that because everywhere you will hear about artificial intelligence, but everywhere we have to tackle it in our own domain, respective domain. It's not a taboo. On the contrary, it should be a differentiator. It's a way to optimize the way we do business, right? What do you think about it, Paul?
So I will absolutely agree, but to put our view on it's I think exactly it's the contextuality. You have to move it into the business you're in, and when you are a company like Topsøe that starts from essentially from surface science and process chemistry, then having the right partners that we can quickly get the adoption done because we have someone to work with that can help together with us in how to use this to speed up. That is critical, and the development. Yeah, it's a conundrum that the technologies do exist, but then the ability to drive it into industries that now needs to deliver for the transition, that actually takes a lot of work, and ultimately it actually needs people to work together for this to happen.
Yeah.
But it inspires me to. Of course, we should not talk only about Europe because we are global and you are so global and we are very global in this little country and all of our industry is very global here. But there is something that's happening now where I think we Europeans need to work in a different way, because we are perfectionists sometimes, and technologies move so fast now, and you have to be in the cross of understanding the development of new technologies and being creative. And if you accept that you also have to be creative and try to find new solutions, everything cannot be perfect all the time. And we have this perfection gene, which is in some areas good, but in some areas really bad in Europe, that we do not release a product, we do not say anything or come out with a product or do a new technology without it's perfect. And if you look at the really, really fast-moving technologies in the world, especially in the US and Asia, especially China, a lot of that stuff is not perfect yet. It's still out there. And then you continuous improvement, continuous make it a little bit better. And I'm sure you wouldn't have made your fantastic plans perfect the first day. So we as Europeans, we need to accept that a lot of this is a journey of continuous improvement. And we need to work also when we talk about big infrastructure project in Europe, which we are now going to spend hundreds of billions of euros, that we make sure that we also accept innovation during that path. And I think energy and electrification is a fundamental element of our wealth and our development in Europe going forward.
Maybe let's take a concrete example. Concrete example, 2 to 3 years ago, hydrogen was on the hype. Everybody was talking about hydrogen. And now nobody is talking about hydrogen. I'm a bit extreme, just to sense how fast things are going. I would like to hear your views, Paul.
Yeah, so we are directly involved in that space, and what we see is really, you had this hype where you wanted to solve all our problems with hydrogen, and what you see now is that there's actually some specific problems where hydrogen is a solution, and these problems are related to industry, to large plants, to the hard-to-abate sector. So it is really about decarbonizing how we make certain chemicals and fuels, methanol, ammonia, that goes into industry, and the projects become much more, I would say, I mean, it's only the best, in this early phase, it's the best location with the right business case, with the right setup around framework where this is moving forward. And if you go back 3 years, anything you could imagine, people would imagine.
So your message is that don't give up on hydrogen. We are just being more realistic. In the past, we were so ambitious that we didn't realize that sometimes better to electrify, sometimes better to go towards hydrogen. It depends on application segments. We have to be much more accurate on what do we target to have the best cost-efficient energy transition. So back to realism, but never give up, because we'll have a combination of technology. And I think this is a key learning of this discussion. There is no one single solution. It will be a combination of different solutions, looking at each segment and application, and there will be something because technology is being invested into Europe. Now, if we project ourselves in 2030, what are the key ingredients that would make you successful in your domain, right?
So in our domain, from a business point of view, we need to see the first Power-to-X plants at scale would be operating, and they would be successfully operating, and we have used that learning to really ensure that you drive down the cost curve and you have a very resilient supply chain that allows us to scale this technology. So that's on a business point of view. I would say on a more people-centric point of view, it's critical for me that the people I have in my organization and the people on the shop floor actually feel that this increase in productivity that we will get from digitalization automation is to their benefit. And I think that's actually, from a leadership point of view, an easy task to take, because the growth opportunities and the problem we are facing are so large that, it's not, productivity will only enable us to solve this problem. It's not that people will go out of jobs because you have automation. We have enough things that we need to do that actually access to people will also be a problem in 2030.
Yeah, it's very important topic. Skill set and how to transform our skill set in Europe. So maybe you have a point of view, Lars.
No, I think the key word here is scale. Some of these new technologies, we need to scale them up. And again, it takes some guts to do it. It takes a lot of investments. I think we have realized that in Europe now. I think the investments are there, but it's just too complicated to get access to the capital. You have had some EU investments into some of your areas. I think that's very good. And now you need to scale the technologies that you drive. So we can build this integrated energy systems and integrated resilience that we all need. Our competitiveness in Europe is depending on it.
But let's take the example of Denmark. Look at this slide. It's quite impressive what has been made in this country. So how do you scale that? What's the secret sauce that you want to share with all of us?
Well, we are on our way. We could move much faster, but we have moved pretty good already, but we could do much more. And that is partnerships. It's also commitments. It's also trying to do it in public-private partnerships. And I think that has been the driving element for quite a while. Now it has become even more obvious that we need to do it because of the security situation in Europe, one. And then we do not think that energy resilience, energy distribution, electrification, energy efficiency, that is not in contradiction to a green transition. We need to see a green transition at the same time, and that goes hand in hand. We don't all agree about that in Europe, but we believe that is absolutely necessary, and the majority of Europe sees it that way.
Okay. One last question. Okay, we want all together to boost industrialization and competitiveness in Europe. So what would be your one-word recipe in order to accelerate automation, digitalization, electrification in Europe? One word.
One word. Okay, but then it's partnerships.
Skills.
Okay, so that's the recipe. I guess that we shared a lot among the challenges that we are facing in Europe. We wanted to try to not discard all the challenges, but to acknowledge that we have strong foundation. We have to fight all together in order to make it revitalized in Europe, but we have a strong foundation. And technology is there. It's a matter of adoption. It's a matter of rethinking the way we work together, about collaboration and about skill set. But at the end of the day, if we want to make it, we'll make it happen. So more digitalization, more electrification, more automation all together as a differentiator for Europe across the world. And this is the recipe that we really wanted to share with you. Hope it's useful for you. And then we can have another discussion later on around all those topics. But please, you can also share and see all of our solutions across the board in the Innovation Hub. Just wanted to share that. Thank you, both of you, for sharing your own experience and your own company stories. Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Thank you.